Most people think of hormones and imagine your thyroid, estrogen, or testosterone. But there's one hormone imbalance that's often completely overlooked. And it might explain why you're exhausted, anxious, and unable to sleep, even though your lab tests look normal. Now, today, I'll show you the subtle signs your stress hormones are secretly out of balance and what you can do to fix it. In modern medicine, we call these your stress hormones. But in Chinese medicine, we've been talking about it for 2,000 years. Only we call it something different. Hey guys, I'm Dr. Alex Hein, board licensed doctor of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, and author of the health book Master the Day. Let's jump in. You know, the subtle signs of burnout and hormone imbalance often show up very, very quietly. A very common scenario I see in my clinic in Los Angeles is that patients will come in and they'll say, I got all my labs, my PCP, my doctor says everything's fine, but I don't feel fine. I feel like crap. Now, I usually tell them, if you feel like crap and you feel like you're falling apart, trust that feeling and not the labs. And one of the reasons for that is that while there are specialized labs that can deal with, for example, like the Dutch test, which will assess certain levels of hormones, you can get a salivary cortisol test or a serum blood test for cortisol. That will truly show objectively, scientifically, if you have high stress hormones. A lot of the rudimentary testing doesn't. And a lot of just your general day-to-day health checkups will not actually show your levels of stress hormones and really assess your level of burnout and exhaustion. So one of my patients came in and she said, you know, I feel like absolute crap. I feel like garbage, but my labs are fine. In fact, I've heard this hundreds of times just in the last few years. From my assessment in traditional Chinese medicine, this woman's fatigue was coming from her digestive system and probably her blood sugar. That wasn't going to show up typically on the general labs. Her blood sugar, her glucose was a part of the testing. But from my point of view, a lot of the formulas that we would use to treat her problems treated her digestive system. So it fixed the microbiome, the gut-brain connection, as well as treated her HPA axis. A lot of what you think of as like chronic dysregulated stress hormones, her adrenals. After about 4 weeks of treating her, her energy picked up, and after about 3 to 6 months, she felt the best she had felt in years. And that was with her labs being normal. So what was it East versus West? Now, what are 5 of the most common signs that I see of a hormone imbalance? Number 1 is you're tired but wired in terms of your energy. Now, in the West, this is sometimes thought of as like adrenal fatigue. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's a sign of what we call yin depletion, where the body can't anchor yang like your nervous system at night. So what this often overlaps with is adrenal problems. It overlaps with nervous system dysregulation. And very commonly, this is when someone is exhausted, but they just can't sleep. And they're in this cycle for months. So that brings us to sign number 2, sleep problems. The most common scenario I see with patients is they say, I wake up around 2 to 3 or 1 to 3 a.m. every night. This is what we call liver qi stagnation. And what liver qi stagnation means in layman's terms is it's sort of like when you're on the highway and you're in traffic and you're getting pissed off and you feel this sensation of that pent up energy, that feeling. So this is commonly related to your stress hormones, or it's related to your blood sugar, interestingly. So we often say this relates to liver function. Sign number 3 is anxiety and irritability. Now, a lot of what this is cortisol spikes can show up in lots of different ways. It can show up in that liver qi stagnation we just talked about, like a pent-up stress response, or what we call heart yin or heart yang deficiency. That mostly shows up as a fast heart rate, even though you're no longer working, irregular heart rhythms, dysrhythmias like palpitations, or AFib, atrial fibrillation. So very commonly in the stages of burnout, first, your heart rate will be elevated while you work. Then it will be elevated even when you're not working. And then you'll have arrhythmias like palpitations, and then it can become more chronic from there. The next sign is having problems with your weight and also having lots of cravings. So increased belly fat and increased sugar and salt cravings are related to stress hormones affecting what we call the spleen. Spleen qi deficiency relates to really pancreatic function more than anything. Digestive enzymes on one side, so you're getting bloated and gassy and food just sits in your stomach. And on the other side, problems with your blood sugar regulation. So we call this spleen qi deficiency leading to dampness. Dampness is all the pathological byproducts that come from that as well. So usually fat gain, fatty liver, diabetes, on one level relates to what we call spleen and pancreas function. And finally, the 5th sign is brain fog and bad focus. Modern medicine might say that's cortisol dysregulation or blood sugar issues. Traditional Chinese medicine, mostly brain fog, is a digestive problem. So we call it spleen qi deficiency. Mostly this is poor digestive enzyme production in the pancreas. This is like incomplete digestion because there are studies showing that if you even are doing something like listening to a radio, watching a show, you're working while you eat, your body produces less enzymes than if you're just relaxing and like looking out at nature while you eat. So very commonly, brain fog is a digestive issue more than anything. Now, hormone imbalances are the main thing implicated in burnout and chronic fatigue. And I'm actually hosting a free online live event in a couple weeks here called The Lost Chinese Practices, quietly helping people conquer burnout and chronic fatigue. So in it, I'm going to show you how to reset those stress hormones naturally using both modern science and ancient Chinese medicine. So there's a link below to save your spot and register. Now, these are often missed by your doctor because, number one, not all hormones are easily assessed in labs, like burnout, for example, is not always easily assessed. You know, we usually live in a gray zone, in between state. You don't sleep well like a couple nights a week, just enough to feel crappy, but you're not so sleep deprived that you're dying. You have a little bit of a fast heart rate, or you notice your heart more often, or an occasional palpitation, but it's not so extreme that you're seeing a cardiologist, for example. So what happens is these little overlooked signs of burnout, of hormone dysregulation, suddenly become very, very big things later. And that's always the danger zone. Now, here are a few things you can do from Chinese medicine. Some practical things you can do you probably haven't heard before. The first is nightly foot soaks. This is a very, very Chinese thing. In Chinese medicine, the kidneys are the root of your battery charge and resilience. And one of the best ways to support just a regulated nervous system is actually through your feet. So every night, what you can do is fill a basin with hot water, toss in a handful of ginger slices or even mugwort leaves, and soak your feet for about 15 minutes. That warming of the feet is often a traditional folk remedy for insomnia. It's viewed as drawing the energy down, grounding the body, and it signals to your stress system, hey, it's safe now, you can let go. Here's a blanket, some hot cocoa, just relax. If you're the type who wakes up at 2 or 3 a.m. with your mind racing, this is a good kind of folk remedy. The second is do some acupressure. 2 points are especially powerful for stress. One is right here between the eyebrows, called yin tang. The other one is on the sole of your foot, called kidney 1. Now, basically you want to spend 2 or 3 minutes massaging each point before bed. Yin tang, we say, quiets the racing mind. And kidney 1, let's see my yoga skills, guys. You ready for this? Kidney 1. Yeah, I shoot videos barefoot, did you know? Kidney 1 right there, the balls of the feet, actually is like drawing the energy out of the head into the feet and grounding them. So you can massage like this. And I often tell my patients, you know, it's like pulling the plug on just a buzzing or overcharged brain. So that's kidney 1 right in there. And the third thing is to eat more black foods. This one is weird, but it's fun because it's so simple. So in Chinese medicine, foods are classified based on color, taste, and their kind of, quote, temperature, called the qi. Black foods are said to go straight to your kidneys, so think of it like stabilizing your adrenals and stress response. This is the organ system that in our framework corresponds most to adrenal health. So add in black sesame seeds, black beans, mulberries, walnuts, even just a handful a day can gently replenish your reserves over time. Now, just some final thoughts here for you. These everyday symptoms aren't random. They're signs of a stress hormone imbalance. And in Chinese medicine, we've treated this for centuries under names like kidney yin deficiency. No matter what you call it, once you reset this system, your energy, your sleep, and your peace of mind come back. Now, that's why I've created a brand new free live event in a couple weeks here, where I'll walk you through my full adrenal reset system, blending the best of Chinese medicine and modern science. If you've been struggling with burnout, fatigue, or anxiety, click the link below to join me for this workshop because I would love to see you there. And again, space is limited. And if you didn't know, I got into this profession very deeply about 6 years ago, going through severe burnout on my own. Finishing up my doctorate while being one of the few students to work 20 hours a week to not die in student debt. I had actually gotten into severe burnout where I had heart palpitations every day. I developed an arrhythmia for 5 years. I had insomnia every night, could only sleep 3 to 4 hours uninterrupted. Eventually I ended up developing clinical insomnia, clinical anxiety, and clinical depression, all 3. And at the end developed chronic fatigue syndrome because my thyroid was having problems. What I'm going to share in this workshop is if I knew that, my illness would have only lasted maybe 6 months instead of 5 years. So I'm going to share my story, herbs, foods, minerals, supplements, qigong practices, east and west, how we can fix this. So make sure you join me live. There's a link below the video to join. And if stress and burnout is a major problem for you, I have a great related video here, my 7 favorite foods and herbs to lower your cortisol stress hormone.